tomorrow.
Oh, looking forward to it. Well, thank you for joining me. Congratulations again, FBI. Back to the couch.
Back to the couch, indeed. Welcome, Rusty.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm happy I'm now next to my matching friend, who I did want on the couch, but unfortunately Spawn didn't want to go in the dog bed. So
It actually looks comfier than the couch.
It
I'm going to
does
throw
look
it out
very
there.
comfy.
Everyone keeps saying that I don't want to go there, but not once have I seen anyone try and move Bailey over here so I can crawl into
That's
that thing.
true.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, I assume Bailey is on a pretty good wage. He only shows up sporadically at best. He has a family to feed.
Yep.
So if I could do Bailey's job, like, I'm backstage
It's a
trying to
good
think of a
gig.
stupid comic book idea while
Absolutely.
this dog just is chilling.
Having a nap. I mean, a lot
If
of
that
people,
was my role in the broadcast, I'd be happy.
a lot of people in chat tell me that Bailey is better at my job than I am, and I argue it's because he's better rested. Like he's a warm, snug boy, unlike me. I live in the cold. That's a lovely shirt.
thank you.
It's a lovely shirt on him. What I want to know, and we'll put up a straw poll, who wore it better? Is it Bailey or Rusty?
Well, Bailey's wearing it as a cape, and he's actually a little bit too chunky to wear it.
Do you want to
And
put yours on as a cape right now?
I don't have a shirt underneath, and I'm not.
Look, I'm not complaining.
No.
This is why we took your close-up away.
Yeah, that's why the camera is now on the dog. All right, so before we get into the next bit, it's time to reveal the first comic book cover. So this is the competition we're running for the next 24 hours. You guys can draw comic book covers, League-themed, OPL-themed, whatever theme you want, just tie it generally into League of Legends or the OPL. Send it in on Twitter at OPL using the hashtag IamOPL, and the winner will get themselves a Cloud Alpha HyperX gaming headset. The runners-up will get Hex Tech, chests, and keys, and possibly kiwi fruits if we don't eat them all tonight because they're just so delicious. And the losers will, have enjoyed competition, and you'll probably take something from the learning. And as you continue further in your life, your drawings will get better and better. Hopefully, if not, give up. Why do something that you hate? And speaking of bad drawings, we have our first reveal. It is Bryce's comic book cover. Bryce, talk us through it.
So, there's a little bit of context, right? Next week number 9 in the OPL, Recall and Restore. Comic books, normally they have like a little bit of fighting, there's a little bit of action. I went very wholesome. So this is about, a champion of League of Legends, like on the Rift. He really doesn't want to be fighting people. He runs around the jungle just like sprouting daisies around camps and stuff. And he went on a little bit of an adventure. He's sick of fighting people. He's the friend of the forest. And this is Ivan finding daisies. He goes around there like Easter eggs for the real OGs out there. This is definitely the Doran shield because you know that Ivan's got 2 thumbs and a shield. And then the main part of this drawing is that Ivan, when he runs around the forest, like first of all, this is Daisy. This is Daisy like pre-ultimate. So he kind of just exists and then doesn't get thrown out, and there's a big rock guy. And I thought much more about the drawing than the actual backstory. But Ivan just loves when he can feel the grass between his toes. I love when the grass is fluffy between my toes. And that's this. And
You know
this
a
is
lot of
I
Ivan quotes.
Yeah, Ivan's a good champ.
Does Ivan's legs look
this
like
is-
horse legs, or?
Yes,
They do,
weird.
yeah, very
He's-
much so.
he's made
I thought
of
they were
wood.
arms. I thought he was touching the ground.
He's made of wood, so he's kind of like real jank all over the place.
I have
but
one problem with this.
this is
One?
what I've done.
Yes.
Okay.
And it was the fact that Bryce said that Ivan is a nice, wholesome character in League of Legends.
He is.
Well, he does true damage to the jungle camps. He
That's
is
mean.
like a massacre. Like, he just goes around and just one-hits everything. And when he's in the candy Ivan skin, he turns them into, little,
Gingerbread
treats
men.
and then, just eats them all. If anything, he's a sociopath.
That's
I'm
messed up.
terrified of him.
He's a
but-
humane sociopath.
Wouldn't you say the same about Bryce? Like
I'm
he's
a sociopath.
He's
Do
always
we need
smiling.
like an 8-part YouTube documentary
kind
to
of-
diagnose me or what?
We
He's
do.
kind of- when you look at his eyes,
Yeah.
you shudder.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And Bryce has that thing where he's always smiling, he seems really positive, but then if he left his microphone on when he goes to the bathroom, he'd be like, I killed them all. And we just get some crazy HBO reveal that he killed a small village. So I feel like it's an appropriate drawing.
Sure, bud.
Well
Sure.
done. I think it's great.
I didn't know what to expect, and I'm impressed with myself, honestly.
That's pretty good.
This
I
is a
think
good
it's pretty
drawing.
good.
Also, I'm mostly impressed with the fact that I just busted out this 3D word art writing,
Yeah.
and I deserve props. And I mean, I'm giving myself props because nobody else is doing it, but I feel like that deserves some credit. Finding Daisy, that's a banger.
I feel like
It's more of a movie poster,
I had
but
no
I like it.
expectations behind any of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have exceeded those.
Yes, thank you.
I'm happy
Thank
to agree
you.
with that, but I haven't seen anyone else's to compare.
That's true.
It's a high
That's true,
bar.
yeah.
I haven't
We've
sat,
now
I
set-
sat upstairs. For context, I might boycott this because I sat upstairs
You had nothing.
No.
and I was like, "This is stupid."
Oh, I seem to remember that differently. You sit upstairs and you were like, I got nothing. I got
And-
nothing in the
and
tank.
Jake- and Jake's-
I can't think of a single idea. I've got no creativity.
Yeah, he's freaking out. He's sitting at the desk, just like, guys, what do I draw? What am I going to do? I can't.
Hang on a
And he's just
second.
looking
And
at
Bryce and I
at
are
a
like,
masterpiece just being created.
Hang on a second.
Oh,
Has there been any situation on the OPL where I've ever appeared to be as frantic as Bryce just made me out? I don't think so.
No, I mean it was a chill.
This is slander.
It was a chilled fear. You'd gone past frantic fear into true terror.
Can we prompt him, perhaps? Like, can
If someone
in
gives me
Twitch
in the chat
give-
gives me something to draw, I'll draw it. Just
just
tweet at me.
draw a
Yeah,
stinky
tweet
cheese.
at Jake
at him.
or let us know in Twitch chat what Jake should draw for his comic book. Also, before we move on, I just want to say that is actually a pretty good drawing. That looks like there's a comic series called Saga, which is fantastic
Wait.
if you haven't read it. And that looks like it could be a comic cover for Saga. Like they
think-
have that kind of style, like, you know, like a close-up of feet in a field or something is something that...
Yeah,
could be there.
I'm not a comic book guy.
Yep.
But I think a friend a couple of years ago gave me Saga, and I read 2 books. I don't know how many there are,
Yep.
but I read 2, and that's it. And it's hilarious that that's the one.
And it
So there we go.
clearly sunk in. Also, another sign that Bryce is a psychopath. He spends a lot of time drawing feet. I'm just saying. All right, before we move on to the next game, we're going to continue the art theme with a quick round of Procasso.
Oh no, Bryce isn't here. So this is what he's done. He like at the start of the day there was this big debate of like I was always on the couch. That's why whoever's on the right hand position, this is their couch for the day. They are merely my guests. And there was a big debate
Your
about
guest.
whether Rusty or Bryce were casting the first 2 games.
Yep, there was. There
And
was.
I now see why Rusty is on the couch because Rusty and I have not been as successful as Bryce.
Bryce is too
in
good at this game.
Procasso.
You could almost say wildly unsuccessful.
Yes, I would agree with that sentiment.
Now, I've been told
Bring it on.
I've been told this is an especially difficult one, so we may stretch it out over 2
Oh, you
segments.
know me, Spawn. Ready?
Let's get the reveal of the monster.
We've got broccoli hair, so I
that's
feel like
Raid's
that's
head.
Okay,
Raid.
so
Hair for
before we
sure.
start guessing, I just want to let you know there are 8 pro players
Oh my
in
god.
this face.
That is too many.
8.
Okay, I've got 2.
That is Raid's hair.
That is Raid's
Okay.
hair.
That
Congratulations.
is Don Crab's mustache.
No.
Is it Shock's body?
The body does not count.
Oh, but is it?
It is definitely...
So what bits
Yeah.
what?
What parts?
So,
There's
I
2
will-
different ears, 2 different eyes, a
So,
nose and a mouth.
I'll let you know. So we've got
And a neck.
a left eye, a right eye, a nose, the base model of the face, which I'm guessing includes the neck, the mustache, the eyebrows, the hair, and the lips.
Okay, can I go back to base model and neck?
Please.
Is it Shock?
No, it is
No.
not.
Damn it.
That's definitely Quinny K. Rays.
That is absolutely Quinny K.
Yeah.
He cannot be stopped even from the desk.
Oh, he can be though.
He
He can be stopped when he trips over a piece of luggage at League of Origin and almost breaks his
can
wrist.
mute him.
But
I
close,
feel like
close
Bryce-
call, man.
Wait, you're talking about Rays?
I'm talking
Right,
about
We're
you.
talking about you.
Oh,
I'm saying you can't be stopped from the desk.
whoops, my bad.
Okay,
was a
so
whoosh.
mustache. Let's focus on the mustache. I mean, this
Okay,
one is
okay.
easier. How many players in League have mustaches?
No one.
I just have no. I haven't seen one.
There's someone.
Well, I need to see the mustache again, please.
Volkan.
Volkan. I was like, we've only spoken about him the most today out of all the players. That
We're
is
back.
Volkan's mustache, and I'm going to say it looks pretty good with Raid's hair.
Okay.
Let's guess one more part. I mean, you can try and get it all out now, but I feel like it just gets more difficult. The eyes really are
Yeah, it's
disturbing.
just-
I've
It's
guessed
not right
2
having
of the
2.
8, by the way.
You've done very well, Jake.
How many you got so far?
Well, I was with you on Raid. I
Oh,
literally
Eat my
said
new
we
shoe.
have the broccoli hair man.
that was too vague.
It wasn't.
Whose nose is it?
I thought we're focusing on eyes. Don't put
Oh,
that pressure
whose
on me.
eyes? Like, I feel like nose is easier than eyes.
It's interesting because I feel like the eyes should be something that this room are familiar with.
Oh, no.
Are they
Oh,
Nick Boy's eyes?
dear.
How dare you? Come on.
Are they
Are
our
those my
eyes?
sparkling baby blues? No, they are not.
The one on the
No,
left
they're not
is
ours.
definitely
They're
blue,
not ours.
and the one on the right is definitely brown.
Yep.
Have they got 2 different eyes?
It's 2 people's eyes.
Okay. Glad that we clarified that.
That is, someone wasn't in some sort of like weird hit them with a baseball accident. Like that is very clearly
Yeah,
2
heterochromia.
different eyes.
I don't know. Give me a clue.
Okay.
I want left eye clue, blue eye clue.
Blue eye clue. His And there's your first clue.
Oh,
The
dear.
favorite game outside League of Legends is Age of Empires 2.
It's a great choice. Very unhelpful.
Well, come on. It'll get easier.
That was a good game, though.
It was a good game.
Was that the game
How
where
good
you
do
walk
you
around?
think it was, Rusty? Ooh.
Is it Rusty?
How good do you think it was, Rusty?
Is it Rusty?
No, it's not
That
Rusty.
wasn't my favorite game.
No, I'm just throwing you off the scent.
That's a dog.
Was that, like,
Next.
clarification, was
Yep.
that the game where you walk around and you start turning people's things with your priest and you go,
Yes, the Walla Walla.
Oh, yeah,
yeah. Banger.
Banger of a game.
Banger.
They weren't priests, were they?
That was something. I don't know.
Monks.
Monks.
Yeah.
According to the internet, this player is known for his elegant looks and thick accent. And I would say half of that is wrong.
Thick accent meaning someone that's gone international? Because they have that in their bio. That's.
Who are you guessing?
I'm just being a detective here.
Who
All
are
right?
No,
you
it's
guessing?
fine. These are good guesses.
Who has a
Jake
thick
is familiar
accent
with this
that is-
person.
I am.
Yeah, I mean, you're all familiar with him, obviously.
Is it someone on my team?
What was the clue?
Who has gone?
Known
Something
for
looks
his elegant looks
elegant look.
and thick accent.
Spooks.
No.
If that is the right answer, I was about to say, if that's the right answer, I'm leaving.
Hold on, is the accent Australian? Like, as in, like, are they known internationally for their Australian accent, or do we know them for
See-
their accent because they're in?
See, it's a toss-up because I'm not sure how this was interpreted. So this is according to Leaguepedia.
Yeah, okay.
So
Okay, so probably international.
I don't know whether or not it's international, but
Is it
I
just
don't think
Pavu?
they have a particularly
said I
strong
will be.
accent either way.
Yeah, okay.
Why am I familiar
Chat
with
knows
this?
what it is.
Who is it?
Is it just Pabu?
It's someone on your team.
It's Jake.
It's Swiffer.
Swiffer.
Wait,
Swift
Swiffer
has
has
a
blue
blue eye?
eyes?
There you go. Apparently no one
No,
knows
no,
properly.
No, he has brown eyes.
He has brown eyes.
I'm getting a nod from the right eye.
Wait, the,
blue.
left eye.
The blue
I
eye.
said the blue eye.
Oh, wait, no, left eye. No, sorry, left eye. Yeah, I read left eye, chat. Unless something's wrong. I'm getting a shrug from our screen. We don't know.
Swiffer, what color are your eyes?
He has
they,
brown eyes.
they can't be blue.
They're
he's,
brown.
He's too Greek. It's the thick accent.
I'm finding his Instagram literally as we speak.
Yeah, find his Instagram. Because the thing is,
Oh, I'm
do
miffed.
you know this about blue eyes? Do you know how blue eyes got into Greek and Italian people?
The horse of Troy.
No.
Oh, pretty good guess, though.
No.
They smuggled him in at night and popped him in there.
Norsemen.
Oh, yeah, that makes more
So
sense.
when
I've
the
seen
Norse,
Vikings.
when the Vikings came and just pillaged and blanked
Yep.
the entirety of the Mediterranean and Italy,
Yep.
we all got blue eyes. That's how I have blue eyes as well.
All right, well, now I'm feeling very awkward about my blue eyes. We're gonna go back to... Oh, wait.
He
Swiffer,
does.
He has blue
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah, he does.
Does he
Holy
really?
moly.
There it is.
What?
Oh, and the person who made that graphic is flipping everyone
Wait,
the bird
can we
from
go back
behind
to
the camera.
Bryce? Zoom in on that photo
Oh,
again.
God, I closed it. I closed it.
All right.
Sorry, let me just open my
really
new
have
pixels.
blue
so
eyes?
we
Swiffer
can
has
find it
blue
again.
eyes.
He's going back in.
Yeah,
Hold
there
on,
we go.
here
We got it. Here we go.
Also,
Can I hold it up
person
to the
that's kind
camera?
of
Zoom?
inside.
Like, I don't know if we're gonna be able to.
man.
That is
Fantastic.
But like,
That is brilliant.
yeah.
Oh, this is the best game of Procast ever. It is time to move on. We're going to come back to the second half
No,
of
we're
this
not.
disaster of a
Find a
face
different segment.
after the next game. It is time for game number 3, and this one is shaping up to be pretty good. It is Mammoth versus Direwolves. I've tipped Direwolves. Everyone else tipped Mammoth. And I'm going to say that this is a must-win game for Direwolves. If they don't win this, they are out of Gauntlet.
Right, so this
cannot
locks
make it.
them out
Yeah.
completely.
Blocks them out if they don't win. And if they don't, then I guess they just make it tough for everyone. They try to
just
ruin
play
everyone's
upset,
game.
right? And
Yeah,
the thing
exactly.
is like I don't think this is a must-win game because I don't think the Direwolves' goal was to make Gauntlet. So I think that they want to just continue to show steady growth, which is like a boring narrative for people at home. But once again, this is a team that's only at the beginning of their year-long journey. I would say the opposite. This is a must-win game for Mammoth.
Yeah, it is.
Because they need to continue to build momentum. And with Gravitas knocking off Avant, it actually allows Mammoth, if they steal this win or like take this win, they should win this game, to get closer to the Avant
It
lineup.
means you have to win the must-win games
Yeah.
for Mammoth. That's
Absolutely.
very important for them for the standings because you need to finish one above AV. To actually beat them, you need to have head-to-head as well.
Absolutely. Knows a lot about League of Legends, does not know a lot about the eye colors of his best friends. It is time to move on to the next game. Triple is your
This is
Twitter POV
horseshit.
stream for the evening, and I'll throw it to the desk with Ejim and Pyra.
Thank you very much, Nick Boy. This is going to be one with a lot of stakes for the Direwolves, as he said. But for Mammoth as well, you know, they've been kind of a little bit teeter-tottering lately. They got their win
Yes.
streak snapped last week. It was a tough schedule. This is where they'll look to bounce back and, flex those muscles.
And it was in like interesting games, right? But Mammoth are a team that has had like 2-0 weeks and then they've had 0-2 weeks, just like all over the place. So their wins like haven't been consistent. A couple of weeks ago, we're like, man, this is the resurgence of Mammoth, right? Rough start to the split where we're looking at the rise, and then last week 0-2. And it was in very interesting circumstances. A Darius was absolutely massive against AV.
Well, that was such a
But it
weird
was also a Yasuo absolutely massive on the other side of the rift. So they do play some interesting stuff. If we are going to see some shenanigans, I do believe it will be from Mammoth's side this game. Whereas Direwolves, Jake said it on the couch, they're a team here looking for growth. I don't think they're aiming for Gauntlet, but they just play standard League of Legends, and this is a learning time for them.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Into the picks and bans we go. Braum, Alistair banned off the board. It's been all the focus on the supports. Our POV will be triple this game. It is all about those mid lanes.
And yeah, to put the scope on Triple, he had a very rough performance on that list game last week. 0-5-0, and he is
That's why they banned it, the real reason.
someone that has been touted as the most consistent mid laner in the region last year. Like, this guy was absolutely monstrous, played decently when he was on the Direwolves and they went international. So interesting to see him have probably the roughest game he has had for a very long time. He's very kind of self-critical as well. I remember an interview with you and Triple a couple of weeks ago in the Azir game versus Gravitas, where he's just like,
Yeah, he
man,
said
like,
he wasn't playing well.
yeah, like you're like, man, that was a pretty good game. Like, he was scooping people up, getting Azir sex all over the place, but he's still just like, man, like, I'm not playing well right now. So interesting to see where he lands in this game.
Yeah, and I think the mental is a big aspect of Mammoth's performance overall.
Absolutely.
We've heard this team espouse about how they are an emotional momentum team, and you got to wonder what's the case with the 0-2. Yeah, they were tough opponents last week, but it was a win streak that got cut short, and I wonder if that does start to get inside the heads of the members of Mammoth. On the other side for Direwolves, these guys are the exact opposite. They are ever the optimist. It doesn't matter how many times they get smacked down. They seem to be okay with it. They know they're learning and growing. And now we finish the bans with the Yasuo removed, and it means that the Lucian will be available for the first time today. Should get locked in for King, and it does.
So some interesting stuff already. Housekeeping, Silas, globally banned, will be removed from the OPL. Can't pick or ban it, won't be touched at all. So power pick off the table, but Lucian, yes, Lucian left open for the red side. He's been a staple ban. You expect Direwolves to ban it away. The only reason you leave this guy up is if you have an answer. Draven, Cassio was played like old school before she's kind of been nerfed, but obviously Andrew comfortable in the matchup, and they know like there's some predictability here from Mammoth. Like, if you leave Lucian up, Direwolves expect them to take it, and this is a risky matchup for Direwolves, but it's a good one.
I like it, though. It's always flexing a bit in a must-win game for Direwolves to stay alive for the playoffs. I don't think they're even really expecting to get that this time around. We do see the Rakan get locked in. This is patch 9.4.
And so it's interesting stuff. I wonder where the mid lane pool is going to go. Triple has been a blind pick goblin the entirety of this split. We were saying that about Ryoma, but he is in the same camp where he's just picked the list. He played like 6 Zoe games in a way, and both of those mid laners have been banned. But this Rakan lock-in is curious here from Destiny.
Yeah,
he is a big game engage player, right? Alistar's been banned away, but this matchup sucks. Rakan early sucks. He got gutted so many times, back-to-back nerfs, and now this is into a Draven. So this is a hardcore comp decision. Rakan, super hard engage mid-late game. Jarvan, absolutely same camp, but they want to get on the Draven outside of this lane, so they're picking buttons to do that.
They certainly are. You mentioned the Jarvan. That should be the lock-in for Babip, of course. We've talked about it being flexible across the map. It still could flex about. We might see this on Tapoon's hands, but I kind of doubt it considering that there is a Jace now locked in.
I think potentially, like, blue side, obviously, you want to pick the flexes so that you can counter some things that red side has to take away, right? And Jarvan, you can play it into a Jace if it goes top side of the map. Like, obviously, Babip can play it in the jungle, but Tapoon could go an airy build into Biopanther if he goes the Jace, and the matchup isn't terrible. So it's more so a draft resource than anything else. Taking it here just opens up some counter picks for them on the blue side of the map.
Yeah, Tapoon has definitely been one of those players that has stood out on the Mammoth lineup. For a new player as well, it's been pretty impressive to see. Notwithstanding the fact that he kind of got boomed at the end on that Darius last week. I mean, that was always a bit of an unfortunate possibility. Elise banned away here, the Scion as well. We'll see what we continue through.
And you can see both of these teams have the read on their opponents. Tapoon has played a lot of Scion, but Direwolves look at Rakan, Jarvan, and they just go, we don't want to add more buttons to the mix. Like, remove the ulti from Scion, remove these champions that can just go in. And on the other side, Mammoth are like, yeah, we've picked for the mid-game team fight. We want to open up our lane, so we're removing the Elise that can just dominate a lane phase with the Draven. I expect maybe another early game jungler to be the ban here. whereas they've picked up the Jarvan, so in essence they could have picked their jungler, so pinching the pool doesn't affect them that much.
Right you are. Nocturne banned away. Mammoth have one more band left to their names. Should be continuing down the jungle pathway.
Maybe Sejuani, maybe
There
Zach,
it is.
yeah. Sejuani makes a lot of sense. And,
All right.
yeah, we'll see where Direwolves go from here.
20 seconds left to pick for them. We're still looking at a jungle pick. We're still looking at, if we assume the Galio is support.
Well, you like a Galio flex pick, but yeah, most likely we'll be going with the Draven for support. This is going to be a jungle lock-in for Ubisoft. I assume something like the Rek'Sai will come out, because you want to hold that last pick for, like, they have the Jace flex right now. If you pick a solo lane, you tell Mammoth where that Jace is going. So taking a jungler here, Rek'Sai, very blindable. All of her bad matchups aren't that bad. You're now negating the ability for Babip to pick up something like the Lee Sin or any of those matchups. So makes a lot of sense for the lock-in here with Direwolves, and Mammoth, now they've got to choose where their Jarvan's going to go. They have to round out the rest of their comp with the solo lanes, and
Triple LeBlanc. I do like to see him on those assassins. A couple of seconds lock in just to make sure themselves, and they will grab it.
there it is. I will say, as we saw that hover down, Riot Games, their understanding of 0 seconds is a fairly long one for all you at home.
It really has
playing
been
solo queue. I swear you can
consistent problem.
Yeah, you can cycle through like 3 to 4 champions where you're desperately choosing to pick something. You're like, I want to play Thresh. No, I want to play Braum. No,
That's
it's
some
Ali.
serious
No, it's
APM
Galio.
you've got
and
there,
like you
but
can
yes.
cycle through so many in that 0 second window.
It's such a tease. It says 0 seconds, and yeah, you just like bop, 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 bop. And then what if you actually get locked into something you don't want? Well, that sucks. Vlad is going to get picked up by Tapoon, and the Rise will be the final lock-in for the Direwolves. Still some flexibility on either side. We'll get another 20 seconds to see where everybody's going.
Yeah, I expect the Rise is going to go in towards the mid lane for get back and answering the LeBlanc, whereas the Vladimir versus Jace on the top side of the map will be the matchup. But BioPanther has his hands on the Jace right now, so I mean the Rise rather. So this could be fairly interesting. These are much more volatile matchups, I feel, and they do switch it out. So makes a lot of sense going back to basics, and I expect a lot of this game is going to come towards Mammoth's side, them opening up LeBlanc, but Direwolves, this Draven.
Yeah, and it feels like both teams kind of have these complementary styles in the sense that you've got like one pretty big bursty sort of damage dealer, and the rest of the team kind of feels like you've got like mixed engage and split push. Like, is this the win condition for both teams?
Somewhat. I feel like Direwolves, they can opt into a 1-3-1, right? Like, it's a bit of a jank 3 in the middle, but they're going to have a TP Jace in the side lane, and they're going to have a TP Rise. And Rise, out of all the mid laners that can take TP, he just eventually wins the split push versus almost anyone. You get to level 16, level 18, and you're just machine gunning people down in a side lane, so Direwolves can open up the map and play that broad macro style, whereas Mammoth, they have the tools to force. Once again, Destiny on Rakan, Babip on the Jarvan, they have the Vlad flank from the side, and they have these big AoE ultis to just try and pick on Andrew. And I feel like he is going to be the one to watch this game, right? Can Corporal keep him alive with the Galio? Can Triple just blow up the Draven? Like, these are things to look out for, and whoever does it better will probably win this game.
That seems to be the case. Now joining us to talk a little bit about the early game and the setup for it all is, of course, going to be Mammoth's coach at his Fantix. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Good stuff. So let's just get straight to the meat of the question. What are you guys going to do to shut down the Draven this game?
I mean, it's just as much as... I mean, they have 3 lanes that are like relatively high pressure and very volatile, so I don't think it's specifically going to be a Draven like sort of punish game. It's just going to be whatever opportunity presents itself. And I'm actually like pretty surprised with what kind of draft they did, because I think there must have been some sort of like obvious like shift of gears where they're just like, all right, fuck it, guys. We're not. Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
We're not gonna just play like for the 5-man comps anymore. We're just gonna play, you know, a bit of a different style. Like everyone can play their own like flavored champions. We're all gonna play aggressive lanes, and we're gonna try to win our lanes, which is something that, you know, I haven't seen Direwolves do yet. So it's respectable.
They've been going towards like the steady build, like BioPanther on Sai on duty, and like over the course of the split, they pick for comp much more often. I'm curious to ask you about like the bottom lane. Like, do you expect a team like Direwolves like to give you guys Lucian? King has been a long-time Lucian player. I really hope he's gone for the the red jacket skin here. But was that expected in this draft?
No, I actually didn't expect it, because I thought, like I said before, I thought they would just opt into the, you know, just the really standard like meta kind of team fight comp that we've used to seeing them on the entire split.
Yep.
So yeah, I actually didn't expect to get the Lucian, but of course, you know, they prepared the Draven counter, so yeah, they're coming in guns blazing this week.
And I want to ask about like overall in course of the split, right? Like we're tracking into the end, the games mean a lot more. We're tracking into Gauntlet. Like how are you guys feeling in the Mammoth camp going in towards, like you guys are sitting top half of the ladder, like rough start of the split, but you have some point leads over some of your opponents. Like who are you worried for?
Wouldn't say I'm particularly worried about anyone except Bombers because yeah, they still look like the clear strongest team.
Yep.
And yeah, AV and Chiefs are both, you know, likely Gauntlet opponents. So yeah, they're also formidable teams. So yeah, we'll just have to see.
All right. I was about to say we'd have to cut it a little bit short, but Babbitt doesn't go in on that one. Thank you for joining us, though, Fantix.
Yep.
As there's the engage. On to Andrew they go, and this is that punishment start, but will they be able to walk away from it? Andrew has already burned Flash and heal, and he does walk it out, but at great cost.
Yes, and honestly, questionable play. You literally just got ganked by the Jarvan, and immediately you go and check the river with a, like you go and try and ward for the Jarvan once again, and he's just sitting in the bush. Like I feel like this happened in week 1 or 2. I'm remembering a Direwolves versus Gravitas game where Corporal's on Alistar. He gets ganked and immediately just walks into the river and dies for it. Now this is like a Draven without summoners, and that's a disastrous start for them.
Is this just like an inexperienced thing, Bryce? Because it does feel a little bit odd. Now, while Udasoft does check in on a Babip who smite flashes to get some health back.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's an inexperienced thing that the Direwolves get punished for stuff like that?
Potentially. I feel like less inexperience and more nerves on stage. If you look at Andrew like in solo queue, and as an individual, you watch him in a game that doesn't matter, there's no pressure. Corporal in the same boat. Like, I don't expect them to make that play on an individual level. They are much better players than that. But then when it comes to stage, they're up against Mammoth. They're up against King and Destiny, like OPL winners, and the pressure is on. Like, it's these little lapses. And League of Legends is a game that, honestly, when you compare it to other esports titles, isn't the most mechanically intensive. You don't have to flick your mouse to the perfect pixel to shoot someone, right? Like, it's a lot more communication.
You need your 38 PM and you're good.
Yeah, and strategy and, like, all of this sort of stuff. And it's a game that sometimes feels very simple, but is very difficult because you have tons of stuff to think about. And, like, a lot of pro games come down to the mistakes that people make, and it's like, which thing do you forget? This time, they blank on the fact that Jarvan can just return gank them. They get punished for it immediately.
That's a fair assessment there for sure. Now, Babip and Udasoft have been tracking each other a lot throughout the jungle. Most of the fights have been inside of the Mammoth jungle.
Yeah.
As Udasoft has gone for a very aggressive start here, and he will come right back in as the blue buff is leashed away.
Yeah, and this is interesting. This is not a style of play you expect from Udasoft all that often, though. He has Biopanther in his back pocket. 0 mana, but the Jace did have some priority, sacking some creeps to look for this blue buff, but they're hard committing.
Yeah, they are, it looks like. Triple already knocked down to half his health bars. Get back, throws him into Rune Prison, but he is out of mana, so he can't follow through, and that means Udasoft in full vision here will eventually win the battle of the blue buff.
Yep, sticks around for just long enough, and hopefully for Direwolves fans, that's going to be a 3 buff. He gets his raid, he gets the enemy blue, and has his entire bot side jungle up to boot.
It's coming up top, and Tapoon sees him.
2-level lead for the Vladimir over towards the Rek'Sai, so you expect that for the next couple of minutes, Udasoft is saying, guys, just chill out for a bit. I've got a bunch of camps to farm. This is good for me if I get to farm it and try and remove some of that volatility.
Biopanther down 1 level, but he is keeping pace with the farm that Tapoon has been throwing out.
And here we go. Mammoth with the answer on the other side of the map. Bot lane have the heavy priority, and this is almost a consequence of the early flash heal burnt from Andrew in the bottom lane, right?
This is great to see from Mammoth that they're giving... You often think about the jungler kind of helping out the lanes, but because of the priority, it's the opposite. Mammoth are able to help Babip out by leashing onto the blue buff, and now all that aggression that Udasoft put out early kind of negated.
Yeah. Like, League of Legends is a game of give and take. He level 2 ganks for bottom lane. That is like a bad tempo play. If that isn't effective, the other jungler is going to steal your camps. He's going to get ahead 1v1, but he ganks bottom lane. Draven loses flash heal. A couple of minutes later, he's losing his blue buff, and he's just like, guys, I need help. Like, walk up. They use the priority. They get a ton of vision in the bot side. They trade the blue buff for blue buff, so ultimately it is just even, and they give it back to the jungler. Very nice.
Yeah, good stuff. And Direwolves trying to get aggressive early on. It hasn't resulted in too much just yet. Dead even in the gold game at 6 minutes on the clock. And the farm, you can see a little advantage building for King in the bottom side.
Early base coming out of the Draven, so somewhat expected here. Rune choice is interesting, has gone for the press the attack, so when he gets those 3 autumns, his burst after that is absolutely monumental, which makes a lot of sense. You know, you have a Galio, it's an E into a knock-up into a taunt, and then you're ramping up, you get to Draven ulti over the top of that, the Whirling Death comes through, and kill potential is very high, especially in a lane where King hasn't gone for the strict heal, right? He's gone for the cleanse to get himself out of the CC, but if he's ever properly locked down, then this guy just dies. Rakan's not going to save you. There's no heal to save you if the CC lands and he cannot get out of the way. Lucian is in a pretty rough spot.
Yeah. Mammoth do have a couple of other tools to rely on in the event that King has a bad game, though. I like that they've given themselves options. You look at Tapoon on the Vladimir, you look at Triple on the LeBlanc, and that's always a bit of an ace up the sleeve of Mammoth, is that they have multiple carries in roles, and they should be versatile enough to just kind of flip Babbitt's attention to wherever it's going to be useful.
Yeah, that's the mark of a good team, right, is diversity. You can play different styles, you can rely on different members. Form is somewhat temporary. You're going to have good games, you're going to have bad games, so...
Mammoth can attest to that for sure.
Have to be accountable and looking to help each other out. But to highlight this bottom lane a little bit further, we saw a trade where Corporal went for the E forwards. King just doesn't use his E in this lane. And he should realistically never be getting E'd onto by the Galio. Because Galio dashes forward, it's very broadcast, it's very slow, and King just dashes away, and then Corporal takes a negative trade. So it's much more about the 80 carry 1v1. Andrew, slight range advantage, just does straight up more upfront damage on the Draven than the Lucian in a short trade. So he wants to be leveraging that, and you can see them building a wave despite the summoner disadvantage earlier. They're being able to push in, and Mammoth have to respect.
That does also mean, though, that Mammoth make this a much more gankable lane. Andrew still holding on. He now has his summoners back up, I should say, after the level 2 gank attempt. And there's a greedy back from Corporal. Starts moving. He's going to have to E away.
Okay.
That could have been bad. That absolutely could have been.
Was certainly getting wrapped around by the Jarvan, by the Rakan, but they choose to leave him alone. Babip is spotted out by a pink ward, but now all of a sudden Mammoth have complete control of the bottom side of the map. You can see Get Back playing with Udisoft on the top side, has a jungler in his back pocket, is just trying to shepherd this wave in as best as possible without getting ganked.
Both mid laners had a jungler available to them. Neither ended up pulling the trigger. Top lane continues to be a farm fest up towards it, and it's a much more quieter Jace game than we saw last time around.
Well, I feel like
matchup.
Jace games you somewhat expect to be quiet. Jace doesn't want the random all-ins that are going to 50-50 a lane. He's the slow, grindy champion. He was pulled out of his lane very early by Udisoft to contest the blue buff trade, so he didn't have a lot of mana. He was using it on the wave, and it did allow Tapoon to have some time. But you probably expect Jace in this matchup to just be slowly whittling the Vlad around, whittling him down, and looking for chip damage on the turret. Udisoft is going to show his face, and then maybe get a plate for the Jace. And it's that slow grind, the slow build, where eventually you get to a point where the enemy is diveable and you can make a big play, but early game, Jace doesn't want to just straight up 50-50.
Bit of a quieter start for sure, and that's the way he likes it. That means we get to just kind of cruise our way through the laning phase for sure, Bryce. I mean, we could talk about anything. Your wonderful art skills, for one.
Dude, I'm actually so...
I am legitimately impressed.
Yeah. I am not
because I've been
artistically
doodling
inclined.
lately, and I know how hard that is.
Ah, what have you been drawing?
So I am a comic book nerd.
Yeah, okay.
And what I've been doing is taking covers that I really enjoy. Such as Spider-Gwen is one of my favorites after seeing Spider-Verse. Good movie. If anyone hasn't seen it, go.
Yeah,
actually, now.
I've seen that
one. It's on Amazon.
Absolute banger.
You can buy it. Babbitt going to try to fight for his blue buff. I'll tell you in a minute, because there's a bit of a significant fight going on right here. Get Back and Bio are in the area.
There is a flank coming from the Vladimir on the top side of the map, as well as look at Destiny on the minimap. He's already walking up. Mammoth are hard committing to this.
And that's the first blood before Udisoft can even get out. Get Back tried to make the escape portal, but Mammoth with a great collapse on this net themselves first blood, Bryce.
Yeah, absolutely. Udisoft is just looking for round number 2 on the blue steel, but Mammoth, they have an answer. They pull Destiny from bottom side. They have the commit from the top side, and you funnel them into a choke. Jarvan, the Vladimir, that's where they thrive. Udisoft falls down. They may just lose the blue. They lose the Rift Herald as well, and disastrous play here.
Starts to move the gold just a little bit in favor of Mammoth. It's the Vladimir that gets the kill as well. You have to think that's going to be pretty big for what has been an X-Factor carry on this Mammoth lineup. They will go for the Rift Herald here, but it's not finished off, and I didn't see who got the final hit. Babbitt goes in, goes golden to make sure he can secure it. He does fall down, and Triple comes in to clean it up. Udisoft taken down by Tapoon, and Get Back tagging his way in. We'll get some revenge as well, and it's just tag team League of Legends.
Yeah, this is just the back and forth. First it's the Direwolf slightly overcommitting, and then Mammoth do exactly the same thing. They do get the Rift Herald, so they come out with the objective. Kills going over to the Rise, to the Jace, but doesn't feel the worst, and this is honestly pretty interesting. I'm surprised. Oh, here we go.
Big play onto the Draven. Andrew walking away and taken out by Destiny's Ignite at the end. And he nearly gets the Whirling Death off onto Destiny and King. Look at how low they are.
And that was just decisive play here from the bottom lane. That's King getting a very nice trade, and there you see the interaction. Galio E forwards, Lucian dashes away. But in terms of that fight, Destiny he looks at King and he's like, man, you just got a real good trade. I'm just going. Pulls the trigger, flashes onto the Draven, and now this lane is going in a completely different trajectory than you expect. Look at it broad picture. Direwolves have a Draven Galio on the bottom side of the map. They're double invading blue side. They're playing top side League of Legends, which is super weird. They're kind of looking at their bottom lane and being like, hey, you guys are going to win in isolation. Unfortunately for them, they're not. So they now have an accelerated Lucian lane for King. He's going to have Cleanse tracking into later in the game. And Andrew has just been put behind twofold here. So,
and this is part of the game plan. Like, shut down the damage. And, you know, Direwolves are always going to be the big underdogs here. Remember, this is a game that they have to win if they want any chance at the playoffs. And nobody really is going to expect them to be able to secure that anytime soon anyways. But Mammoth have been able to do a great job of keeping them on the back foot. Now, the gold game's still fairly even. It's just, if you're a Draven, you got to be frustrated because you've already died, you've lost some stacks, and now you just keep on trying to build them up, and Andrew hasn't been able to get the execution off. That can mean the difference between one play going your way and one going the other.
Yeah, fairly interesting. We've also got a Hex Belt LeBlanc.
Yeah,
which
triple
is
covering a lot of distance.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought, I looked at that and kind of went, huh. And then I figured, you know what, maybe it's not weird and there's some meta stuff that I'm not paying attention to, but thank you for clearing it up here.
Yeah, potentially. Like, normally you see, like, a much more standard build, right? Like, from the LeBlanc, maybe into the Rise, into the Rex side. There's like this, he wants to be slightly beefier with a comp that alphas a lot of upfront damage. It's like a JCQ,
also
it's a Rise,
also the
Prison.
active, the fact that he can close just a bit more of a gap. You know, you never know if you're going to be just out of range of Sigil of Malice or something like that. So I can see it, but you are right. It's a little bit unorthodox.
First time we've seen it in the OPL, so interesting stuff here from Triple. But as you were mentioning, this game, like, honestly, gold lead towards the Direwolves right now, right? They have a 20 CS lead in the mid lane because the kill went over.
But if you look at who has the gold too, though, I think it is definitely worth pointing out, like, where a lot of that lead is in the Rise at the moment. I think is a big part of it. Up in the top, where you have 2 kills on the Vladimir, it's actually not a huge difference between Tapoon and BioPanther.
Yeah, certainly the case. Like, Bio himself, he has a kill, he has an assist, so kill part-wise, he's not necessarily behind. But Mammoth are making a play on the bottom side. Remember, they do have the Rift Herald. Do they just look to use it, or...?
Looks like it. This is going to be seeded away. Ooh! Couldn't quite stop the channel of the Rift Herald. I like the cheeky attempt by Udisoft, and there will be the final charge.
Well, you need CC, right? Like a Morg binding, frustratingly, in my experience, doesn't even do it, because that's a snare. You can still cast while you're snared. So, like, you need a knock-up, you need a stun, you need, like, a knockback.
An interruption.
Any of that, so... Could have been a Rek'Sai, but Udisoft would have had to int for that one and decided losing the turret plates is probably much more worthwhile than losing his life.
And they hung on to the tower, too. They mobilized just to respond to Shelly, and speaking of response, Get Back finding himself fired down by
here, though.
And Triple, and into the pit. Triple is going to take down Get Back, the final shot, and there's the Void Rush. Udisoft, Babbitt forced to flash away, burning down from Red Buff, but doesn't happen. No mana on the LeBlanc. The Birdio's coming in. Udisoft staying alive. The Whirling Death is not even enough to take down Babbitt, and that's a series of close calls.
Yeah, but look at his HP on the sidebar there.
He flashed at the end.
Yeah, moments away from dying. The Whirling Death, very accurate there from Andrew, who flew off towards the top side of the screen, but the Scuttle Crab will get himself back to a healthy point in this game, but King left alone on the bottom side. Of course, he's got a completed balk to the makings of a Bloodthirster, I expect here from Andrew, so he in a 1v1 is just able to leverage his lead, gets down the turret, gets a nice sack of gold in his back pocket, but yeah, interesting 2v2 in the mid lane.
Good stuff for sure. And on the top side, you can see Tapoon had already gotten a good push up there as well, and now it's going to get answered by BioPanther. Mammoth, though, definitely cruising into the mid game with some pressure, with some map control. Item advantages around, and they have to be feeling some confidence here.
Yeah, and for OPL standards, like, this is a pretty quiet early game. We have had, like, the contest over the Rift Herald. There's a few kills back and forth, but I feel like somewhat it's a consequence of having an Air Dragon. Neither team is realistically, like, going to opt hardcore into early fights, and if they are, it's going to be Direwolves, and they were behind, right? Like, their Draven set a little bit behind. They didn't have the summoners to force these fights, so Air Drake not up, and Mammoth are like, we're happy to let the Vlad scale. We're happy to get Lucian to 2 items. We're happy to give LeBlanc time. All of these things are true, so here we go, though. Is this going to be a flash? It is!
Now on to Triple. Timing! He had zero chance to react to that. He was CC'd for days.
And this is the cool stuff in these slow games. That's just a hardcore read. They know the blue timing. They've invaded the first 2, and on round number 3, it's Corporal rotating up, burns the flash, the backwards E to lock down the LeBlanc, and just a very nice kill. That's a straight read by Direwolves, and they get themselves an advantage.
Counterclaps for Mammoth, though. King and Destiny around the side. Missed the knock-up. The Battle Dance comes through. And the quickness. Now, that did mean Bio had to burn Flash, though.
Yep, they get the Summoner. Destiny luckily didn't burn the Flash of his own, so doesn't look all that bad. I'm interested to see what his rune choice is. I think, given how quick he was running, he probably had like Nimbus Cloak in that regard, but like the old school runes are like you can go towards like the Aftershock, you see a lot of Guardian or Summon Area, then you go Nimbus Cloak Celerity for the movement speed boost, right? Celerity for a lot of people that aren't like rune familiar changed to not just flat movement speed, but went to any movement speed you get is a bonus. And Rakan, obviously you hit that ulti button, you run very quick. And
there's a fight going on bot right now. Hold on a second as Babbitt gets taken down in a 1v2.
Yeah.
BioPanther manages to trade.
And we'll have to see a replay of how that one happened, but very, very interesting. Direwolves are just hard forcing on the top side. They're breaking the top side turret, and the outer goes down. A little bit of gold goes to Andrew, but here we go again.
Against the Whirling Death, going to kick things off here as Get Back looking to chase down with Destiny and King have already backed away. So Direwolves try to force, and you know this seems to be the newer aggressive Wolves backed against the wall. They are trying to find some things and keep this game from getting out of hand.
Constantly looking for the opportunity. So we're going to see how this one started. Bio just playing way too aggressive. He's on the wrong side of the map. That's Mammoth coming from above him towards his base.
Still gets a 1v1 though.
Yeah, gets a trade, which feels nice. Babbitt probably didn't have to die there. Topoon and
they
has the Salt Boots. Has
that was
the,
2 ults used by Mammoth to kid him, and he's still, man.
Yep, so, I mean, feels okay for the chase.
Yeah.
Vladimir sitting on 3 kills right now is certainly a scary prospect. Topoon hasn't gone for the hardcore damage build, like, has paid the Zhonya's price, right? Like, we've seen a very good item.
Hey, look, it's safe,
him.
right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not even safe. It's kind of standard. He's not sitting 3-0 and be like, man, I'm going to snowball the hell out of this. Like, he's just going for the standard
he hasn't
build.
Built a Medjai's.
Yeah, he hasn't got a Medjai's. He hasn't got, like, second item decap or anything like that.
We've seen Mammoth members pick Medjai's when they're on a roll, too. Looking at you, Triple.
It's a good item, bro.
Yeah, it is.
Feels nice.
It feels snowbally for sure.
Flash.
Corporal is going to get rooted on. I like how they back away just in time to not get taunted. And Mammoth can collapse too. Clinical. That's going to be 5 members pushing onto the mid turret. This is going to fall easily. No response possible from the Wolfpack.
Yep, straight up just an individual mistake. Small misstep there from Corporal, and he loses his life. They lose the most important turret in League of Legends, and they're looking for the inner as well. BioPanther went top. Udisoft is doing Gromp. Is this going to be a 2-for-1?
Wolves get caught snoozing right here. I think so.
Yeah.
Not even 20 minutes in. That's the inner going to get fired down upon it, which means a lot more controls open up into this jungle now. Mammoth just do need to knock that one down top, and they pretty much have everything to try and start looking at the Baron.
Yeah, and like timing is perfect. A minute before the Baron is spawning, they just completely blow open mid lane, have so much control. Now they're setting up, look at how many deep wards they have, and it also weird positions. Like around the Wraith Pit, like over towards the base gate. Topoon, if he gets a flank, when he finishes this Zhonya's, right, he has 2 items, he's got the stasis, he's got 4 kills, he's very big. Like, if you set up a Baron play...
Oh, yeah, he can get a big old Hemo Plague on everybody.
Yeah.
Just pull his way in.
Feels good.
Now, Get Back is getting a push on the bottom tier turret, but that seems to be a small price to pay. It's being matched in pressure up top. BioPanther is there to respond to Triple, however.
Yep. I will say, like, this... We talked about it in a Champs League, but to hit on it again, like, stylistically, if this goes super, super late, Ryze is a pressure point. It's not as extreme as, like, an Ezreal Tahm Kench Ryze comp we saw Gravitas take AV down with, but, like, they do have side lane options, right? BioPanther isn't behind at all. He's just not as ahead of the game as the Vladimir is, so they can 1-3-1 once it gets late enough, but this portion of the game will be the most difficult. So much vision control on the top side jungle for Mammoth there. Poking their heads around the Baron pit. They've placed down the pinks. They're checking all the bushes, and this could be the force in the next couple of minutes.
That seems to be the case. Crest of the 20-minute mark. Mammoth currently rocking a 3,500 gold lead over their opposition. Cloud Dragon had been picked up by them too, as you pointed out. Not a lot of attractive dragons in this particular game, but they picked up the one that had been on the map. And now Baron is up. Mammoth trying to bait around it.
They're all just standing still because Udisoft is, of course, playing Rek'Sai.
Tremor sense.
Triple was simultaneously... he didn't know, but he was standing still, so he didn't get spotted by Tremor Sense, but Udisoft just had Sweeper. So he just sees the outline of the LeBlanc, like, standing literally in his face. Cues the bush, sees the other guy,
like,
and...
okay.
Yeah. Because I feel like it's kind of weird. Like, Rek'Sai doesn't have to stay tunnel. A lot of people like look at Rek'Sai and you're like Tremor Sense is the way you spot people, right? But like if you're sitting there and like you expect your opponents, like as a professional player, like there's reads back and forth. You know they're going to be standing still in positions where they're looking for you. So like maybe you can unburrow for like a second, right? You can look around and actually use some vision that you get, and you don't negate yourself that option. As here we go, round number 2, and there's actually 3 boys coming from the Mammoth side.
Yeah, BioPanther's pretty dead here. He's going to try to pull some sneaky trickery. Comes
Damage
down with a bad
test.
case of Hemo Plague here though, and he just keeps on running, dodging. ducking, dipping,
Ah.
flashing, doesn't
Oh.
matter. They burn 2 flashes, and they do
Okay.
secure him.
And curious as to why Topoon burnt his flash there. That Jace was dead to rights and questionable from Biopanther to burn his own, but honestly, in a 1-for-1 flash trade, you would take it right now, but here we go, Destiny's in.
I think that's the case. Now Direwolves did try to push onto the mid turret, have to be backed away, and there's the Hero's entrance into the middle. They do get the knock onto triple, doesn't really matter. They have way too much damage here, and they will clean the house right behind Baron.
And that was such a big flank from a Vladimir without ulti. Destiny did all the work on the front end of that fight. They take down the other 3 members. Get Back is up and available, but there's no way he's one-man armying this Baron, and this game just got blown the hell open.
Yeah, it did, and you know what? You just got to look at his score right now, Bryce. Topoon is 7-11, and he has been open all day this game. 22 minutes, they secure the Baron, and this is starting to look very, very scary.
Yes, now in a very good position. We're going to start this off. Let's see where the teleport came through. There's a ward very deep in mid lane, but goes to the red bush. Double knock-up. QSS gets burnt from Andrew. Corporal buys them some time and then channels the entrance on the back end, but Topoon just does so much damage, even without the ulti. He comes in, the EQ, he chases them down. He's getting all of the access to these kills, and look at his build, right? He had the stopwatch, and he had the Seeker's Arm Guard, and he had the Needlessly Large Rod. And he's like, look, man, like, I just got a bunch of gold. I'm going to go back. I've still got a stopwatch. Like, I have a death cap. He's now feeling very good.
Yeah, nice little Rabadoodles picked up. 900 gold bounty on his head. Going to be very hard for anyone in the Direwolves to take him down.
A what?
Rabadoodles. You never seen UK League of Legends, clearly. That's like all they ever refer to it as.
Rabadoodles, all right.
Yeah, that's
Sure.
good. It's one of my favorite UK League terms.
Yeah, do you wake up in the UK and just hear like the roosters
No, I
going
just
Rabadoodle-doo?
I
Is
just
that
talk to
a
a
thing?
scoundrel way too much.
Okay,
Dragon's
fair
going to
enough.
get started. This is an Infernal right now. Mammoth are going to be able to take it down pretty easy. I tickled your funny bone, didn't I?
You had no idea what I just said, did you?
No.
I said, do you wake up in the UK and say, do you like to the roosters saying Rabadoodle-doo?
Oh,
I just went right over
yeah,
your
that
head,
just
yeah.
that whooshed pretty hard.
Yeah, bad luck.
I mean, to be fair, I don't always listen when you talk. But
Yeah, thanks, bro. Feels good. That's fine. But Mammoth, they have
I'm
the
just
Baron,
kidding, Bryce. I can't be mean to you. You're too positive.
They have the Infernal Drake, and they have firm control of the map right now. Gold lead. Just about 6k in their favor, breaking down the turret that is indefensible by all rights right now. Biopanther catching a wave while he has some respite, but Mammoth, they can force right now. Destiny has flash. If anybody from Direwolves groups up, expect Destiny to go in.
Yeah. Direwolves trying to close the gap here, trying to move in to force a fight, counter-engage. Udasoft just has 0 good options. Triple goes in, misses out of the chains, but it's just enough to deter the Wolves. And they can see
Here
the
it
last
is.
of their playoff hopes melting away here, Bryce.
Oh, King actually gets very chunked off the back end of that one. Maybe they can defend.
That's just the chance. Corporal going through. You can see the taunt comes out as Baba tries to get the body block on, and there's the Hemoplague thrown down by Topoon to cover the tracks of Mammoth. They push a little deeper than they maybe wanted to,
Yes.
but they don't lose anyone.
And that was a huge misstep there from King. He has stopwatch, he has flash, he has cleanse as well, but just takes so much upfront damage that they have to back away. This is 6,000 gold lead. You have flash in your Rakan, you have the Baron, you want to be breaking the base, and that deploy, all it got them was a single turret in the bottom lane, and they have to reset. They have time, they have a third left on the Baron, so it's not all dead to rights, but that's not the clean close you would have liked as a Mammoth fan.
No, it's true. You know, Mammoth still have some growing pains. We've seen they sometimes tend to get a little bit ahead of themselves, quite literally in the position. Don't always play the back to front they could. And King definitely was victim of that there. Really trying to end it before the time. I mean, you know, you're doing great at 25 minutes. It's okay to pump the brakes just a little bit. You realize that, yeah, there's some late game pressure in the form of the Rise, and maybe if Andrew starts to pick up some stacks. But for the time being, they've got them locked down. So Mammoth don't have to push their luck.
Looking to set up on the other side of the map now. They broke the inhib turret. Biopanther is playing with fire there. If he checked the bush, would have been a very dead Jace. That feels very bad.
Has to back away from his own jungle, seeding a lot of camps as well. Udasoft can't even finish off his own Krugs at this point. And that's going to be Mammoth pushing on the top side.
And you can see that a ping just went down to the bottom lane inner on Mammoth's side of the base. So Get Back saying to his teammates, like, I'm going to hit this turret. Just buy me some time. They're giving up this turret we see right now on the top side. And do they maybe even give up an inhib just to allow time for Get Back to put some pressure on the other side of the map? Maybe they do. Maybe they feel like they can't win a team fight right now. This is a 3-item Vladimir. It's Lucian with 3 items and a stopwatch. There's so many tools here for Mammoth that Direwolves may just be playing the long con.
I don't know how you slice it. It feels like it's going to be a bad trade either way. They do send Get Back back, and this is now going to be the time to Direwolves to force the fight if they can, but they just can't get in there. No flank possible. So many wards for Mammoth inside this jungle to spot out any vision.
And you said pump the brakes earlier, and I somewhat disagree, because Mammoth are playing one lane League of Legends right now. They just need to be more decisive. As soon as somebody stacks up, Destiny just needs to go. We've seen him do it earlier, and here it is.
That is the answer, trying to go for the engage onto Usopp into the back. It looks like Corporal tried to do the same thing, but no follow-up available from the Wolfpack, and it doesn't matter if they're all together. They're all going to die along with the rest of the Direwolves base. Mammoth just way too strong here.
And can they actually go for the end? Draven's still alive. Biopanther has the Jace, and no Baron means the end is tough.
Yeah, they dip back and they go around, and this time they've managed to take down Andrew. Once again, they might lose Tapoon, but it is a small price to pay to turn around for the rest of the base. Everyone off the Direwolves, apart from Udasoft, is sitting on the respawn, and he's about to join them for the ace. 27 minutes on the clock, and Mammoth, they definitely answer their critics with a stylish victory here. All they got to do is finish off Corporal, and it is an easy GG. Well played.
And I'm going to call him out King, farming minions right now. That's a classic 80 carry syndrome. Wants to pad his stats a little bit, make his best GG look a little bit better.
You know what? It's hard to blame him when it's 27 minutes in. You're usually still getting the farm. Instead, they were on the Nexus.
Yeah, because all 80 carries want is farm, right? They don't care about the game.
Yeah, especially if you're Sivir.
Yeah, they just want to eat creeps. But yeah, that was a fairly interesting game. Like Dire was coming out with a very different strategy. This was early game pressure onto Mammoth, which is a tough ask, honestly. Like, these guys are punching up. We've been talking about this as a growth split for Direwolves, and that is growth. That's diversity. That's attempting to play a new style. Mammoth, very good team. We were saying this is a must-win game for them to get back on track. We expect them to beat Direwolves, and they did handily.
They did, and I think that's the important thing, is that there were a few mistakes, a couple of them you could definitely call out, but they weren't necessarily very punished by Direwolves, who did try to turn it around, but they just... That's a team that, speaking of growing pains, they're going to have a lot more before they really get into their strong suit. We'll see what happens next split. We'll see what happens to the rest of this split. But for the time being, Mammoth were just very much the stronger team. And they did need this win to get back on track. They had a tough week last time around. They had some close games that they got knocked down in, and it snapped their win streak. But now they're right back on the rails, and they're looking ahead to playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're doing it in somewhat style, like Destiny back on his Rakan. Not many support players are playing this pick right now. Like, he did just get gutted a bunch of times. Next patch, 9.5. His W move speed goes up a little bit, so maybe we'll see a bit of a resurgence. But, like, he's just a good engaged support player. Copped an Alistar ban. He's like, look, I'm happy to play the weak lane matchup, play for the comp, and I was saying it at the end, like, they just need to go. He immediately went. The mid lane fight, like a 3-man knock-up on the Rakan, and they get a team fight they want. So Mammoth are back to somewhat playing Mammoth-style League of Legends, and it's good to see.
Back to the Mammoth form. Let's send it back over to the couch to break that game down a little further.
Well, there you go, Jake. You said before this game, it's not actually a must-win for Direwolves. It's a must-win for Mammoth. They managed to pull it out. Direwolves obviously out of possibility for Gauntlet, but Mammoth, you know, potentially on the rise again.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason, you know, to just go back through why it was more important for Mammoth is because now with Avant dropping the game, Gravitas picking up the game, you don't want to start falling towards Order and Gravitas. You want to be catching Mammoth with how the standings are currently going. And I think that they were able to do that this game. It was a dominating performance. You know, I was busy doing other activities, unfortunately, throughout a lot of the game. But when I was peeking a look at the kind of situation... there just didn't seem like that many windows for Legacy to get back in. You know, very good laning performance on a scaling comp kind of does that too.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't watch more than a minute of the game because I was really trying to draw, and I can't draw, and it takes most of my focus. But there was two things that I took from that draft: is that one, Direwolves tried to go for the Draven, they tried to be aggressive in the early game, and two, I heard Topoon's name yelled a lot. So it was very clear to me, even if I wasn't watching all of it, that he was a big factor.
Yeah, and the areas that I were able to see, I mean, decisive closeout, really good Baron setup off the back end of the team fight. So I think that, you know, they're just going from strength to strength at the moment. And I was actually kind of surprised that they didn't beat Avant last week. I thought that that was kind of a play from Avant against the... this is just real distracting.
Incredibly distracting.
I thought that was a game against the trend of how the league seems to be shaping up. And they're only, like, if they beat Chiefs, I'm nearly willing to say that they're, like, up there in decisiveness and kind of teamfight playstyle that the Chiefs and Bombers currently at. And maybe, you know, we go back into a 3-team league with, you know, Mammoth rejoining the guys at the top, regardless of what the ladder standings say.
Beautiful. All right, let's throw it to the desk where Pyra is sitting with Tapoon.
Thank you very much, Nick Boy. And Tapoon, you have had a brilliant split so far. You have played incredibly well on Mammoth. How has it been, being a rookie, to just kind of come out of the gates swinging?
I got a lot of pressure, like, cause my teammates was like best of this region, and I didn't have OPL experience, but um, I got coached from Richie. I was like so bad at this League of Legends, but I got coached by Richie, so Richard Su Pentix, and I think so I could be good by him. Sorry, my English is so
No,
bad.
it's okay. It's okay. Your team has really helped you level up, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
And for you, how much has it meant to you that the team has put so much extra effort into helping you shine? As a new player, you've definitely shown a lot.
Yep.
And the team has helped you get there.
Yep.
How has it felt being on the big stage with all the supportive members around you?
Sorry, how do I?
It's
don't
okay. I
understand.
can ask a different question. That's
Yep,
all right.
yep.
Yeah. So this game, it seems like it was fairly easy for Mammoth to finish. Did
Yep.
you ever feel pressure in this particular matchup against Direwolves?
This blood matchup was my thought was I get 6 down, I get 26 down, but if I go even, I could easily carry. But yeah, hopefully that went good. So
It worked out pretty well for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah, it
no
worked.
problem. I mean, you picked up kills all over the map. Do you just get into the thought that I can just kill everyone and you start chasing them down?
like like I just want last hit, then I just I could get last hit. That was just lucky for me.
Does your team ever have to pull you back from making the big plays, or they just let you go?
Like like last team fight, I used ult and Juniors like instead of protocol, but my team is so good, so they just carried me. I don't think I am like good enough in this game.
Well, your score would definitely indicate otherwise, but I think overall the team has done so well. So thank you for joining me, Tapoon, and thank you for agreeing for the interview.
Thank you very
He's
much.
humble as well. Send it back to the couch. Let's see what they have to make of it.
He's everything you want in a League of Legends player.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I think that like a lot of the rookies coming